Hey, Eric here from 5minuteinvesting.com, and today we're going to talk about one of my favorite books of all time, Blue Ocean Strategy, and how to use that to get 30% from the market through investing. Now, Blue Ocean Strategy is actually not classified as an investing book under Amazon.com. It's actually classified as a strategy, a business strategy book under Amazon, and a lot of strategy consultants will read it. If you are in university or if you are taking an MBA, you probably heard about this book. It's something that MBAs would read. So let's cover what is Blue Ocean Strategy and why is it so important. Now, Blue Ocean Strategy is the concept that whenever there's a new market, the ocean is blue. Now, what does that even mean? When there is a mature market, there are a lot of players in the market, and they kind of use their blades to compete with each other. They kill off competitors, and that makes the ocean red. So a red ocean represents a competitive, mature market where a lot of players have died. And a blue ocean means nobody is there yet, so there isn't a lot of blood in the ocean yet. And that's literally the metaphor the author used to explain the book. Now, over time, you have red oceans, and companies will jump to the blue ocean, which is a new market, and it will become red over time because more and more people are jumping into the market. Now, one example of a great blue ocean right now is the electronic car market as I'm recording this video. So Tesla is the #1 company in terms of electronic cars in the North American market, and as of right now, other companies starts to jump in, and there isn't really a lot of competition, but over the years as Tesla released the patents for the car or whatnot, and other companies such as Ford, such as Toyota are releasing their own version of either hybrid or own version of electric car. I think Nissan also has one that is an electric vehicle called Leaf, or something to do with Leaf as a logo. So that's really what a blue and a red ocean is. And if you don't have time to read this book, that is like the #1 takeaway. So I just saved you like 20 hours. Okay, now another example that I got here is actually printers. Now, if you look at printers, you know, it's a mature market and it's definitely a red ocean. So if you try to start your own printer company today, there's a lot of blood in the ocean. You know, HP is there, Canon is there, and there are a variety. Extron is there, so there's a variety of companies that have already competed and established a lot of patents and intellectual property that prevents you from going in. So you don't want to be going into the printer market. But if you look deeper into the latest printer technologies, you'll actually find a kind of printer that is like the size of this eraser. So it's probably a little bit taller and half the size of this width. So the printer is around this big, like literally the size of my hand. And if you put it on a piece of paper, it can actually print pages and pages of documents. Now, that kind of mobile printer was a Kickstarter campaign. I can't remember the name, and it was overfunded, and now it's launched, and they run advertising, and they sell a lot of these little small printers. Now, that is a blue ocean within the printer industry. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense. So even within a mature market, if you look at a certain niche, you'll be able to find a blue ocean. Now, does that mean you should find a blue ocean every time? Not necessarily, because when you find a blue ocean, you might think there is a market there, but when there actually isn't. And when you see that there's a red ocean, it's actually a good sign because there's A, proven demand, and then B, other people are in it, so then there must be some customers or money in it. So the market size should be big enough. One of the big problems with blue ocean is that the market size isn't big enough. So when you're looking at companies, right, you want to think, well, are they in the red ocean or are they in the blue ocean? Because if the company is in the blue ocean, it means growth, it means there's room for expansion, it means that the company can scale. If they're in a red ocean, it's really coming down to an efficiency game. You're trying to compete on price, on technology, you're trying to compete by market share, taking other competitors' customers. So then there's a lot of blood there, and then your revenue growth will be limited as well. So you want to think, is the company you're investing in selling good old printers, or is it selling the latest innovative small printer that is like a Kickstarter campaign? And that's really one of the consideration when you are trying to invest in the market and get 30% from it. Because if you invest in a mature market that is declining, chances are you're not going to get 30%, even though the company might be very, very big. Okay, now here's an interesting example. Just because something in red ocean doesn't necessarily mean it's bad if the market is really big. So Google. Now when Google first started, and as of right now, that Google is the #1 search engine in the world. When Google first started, Google is not the first search engine company. Google is actually the 130th or the 136th search company in North America. So if you are Google back in the day, you actually think, well, this is kind of a red ocean, right? However, it also shows that there is demand, and you can see that all the startups are trying to crack the search engine code. Now eventually, Google keep improving the algorithm and develop such a great algorithm that outpaced all the competitors, and then it became one of the largest corporations in the world. But when they joined the market, the search engine market, it was 130 people. So it's not exactly the reddest ocean, but there are definitely players in it. So just because you read the book Blue Ocean Strategy, it doesn't mean you should avoid competition. A red ocean, or the beginning of a red ocean, can signal demand, can also signal that there's a large potential market. So it really depends on the player that are in the market, because during that time, all the players are really small. But when you're looking at printers, all the players are really big. And now, if you look at Google today, there's only like 3 search engines, or 3 biggest search engines left in the world, which is Yahoo, Bing, and Google. And of course, there are smaller ones like DuckDuckGo, but basically, Google dominated like 60 to 80% of the search engine volume, is my understanding. Okay, so naturally, after we talked about these examples, we actually come to the first mover advantage and the late mover advantage problem. So when you are thinking about a company and you're investing in it, does first mover advantage or late mover advantage really make a difference? And which one will give you a higher chance of getting 30%? Now, when you think about it, and if you read the book by Jim Collins, which is called, I don't have it with me, The Flywheel, he actually said that there isn't a case, or there isn't statistical significance where the first mover will become amazingly successful. So just because you're a first mover into the market and you get into the bluest ocean doesn't necessarily mean you'll become the biggest. It just means you're the most innovative at that point in time, but people can catch up. Now, I got a couple of examples here, and one of the examples is actually AMD. Now, as of the time I'm recording this video, the stock price for AMD is actually going up quite a bit because their strategy changed. But I'm actually talking about the AMD for the last 10 to 20 years when compared against Intel. Now, if you are not familiar with what AMD is, it's actually a computer chip company. It's the one that uses the color red, and Intel is the blue one. So that's the easiest way to differentiate them. And in historically, Intel actually releases more advanced chips, but they're inconsistent. So even though they might be the first mover to develop the latest generation of chips, they don't really dominate the markets because Intel, as a second mover, has a more stable production line. They perfected the process, and they're able to automate and scale. And if you look at the market today, Intel has 90% of the market share, and AMD has like 10%. Now, in the recent year or two, AMD is actually changing their strategy, and I think it's working out for them, so that their stock price has been going up. But in the early or the last 10-20 years, that's what was happening. Now, another example that a later mover advantage actually helps somebody is PlayStation, developed by Sony. Now, when you're looking at the PlayStation or the console market, you'll find that Nintendo has GameCube, has N64, which are very innovative consoles, like Wii, Wii U, and Switch. So some of them are successful, and some of them are not so successful. So Nintendo's approach is innovation driven. They want to be the first console company to do interactive movement, or they want to be the first console company to use kind of like card boxes to be like interactive gaming. But when you look at PlayStation, they're actually more successful because they come in and they look at what Nintendo is doing wrong, and then Sony fixes that. And that's really the benefit of later mover advantage. Now, another great example is actually Apple. Now, when you're looking at the cell phone market, back in the day, there's Sony Ericsson, there's Nokia, these big cell phone companies that are absolutely dominating, and they launched many different models of cell phone, and BlackBerry as well, in the market, and that is a completely saturated market. Now, Apple, being the late mover, they look at what all the cell phones are doing and their mistake. Then they launch a phone that is kind of like a leapfrog product that is 2 or 3 times better than the existing BlackBerry. Full touch screen, it has an iPod functionality, and the internet surfing capability is fantastic. And those 3 things alone allow them to dominate the market. So that is another case where Apple succeeded as a late mover advantage. Apple actually done that for iPad as well, because when you think about it, Microsoft is actually the first company that developed iPad. But at that point, it wasn't usable. It wasn't user-friendly enough. It wasn't easy enough for the general public to pick it up. So because of that, Apple made iPad very simple. Anyone can use, well, almost anybody, other than my grandpa. So Apple actually succeeded with iPad, and everyone knows it. So now, one of the examples that first mover advantage is quite important is actually messaging apps. Now, you might say, well, Facebook wasn't the first messaging app or the social network, and they're still fine. Yes, that is correct. But if you look at the China markets, the most used messaging app is actually called WeChat. And because of certain government regulations or whatnot, but WeChat is able to grow in China and basically dominated the entire Chinese messaging market. And everyone uses WeChat, and WeChat has all these integration with wallets and buying plane tickets online and train tickets and whatnot. So it is actually the #1 app, and they call it the super app. And by being the first mover, or the only mover, into the Chinese market, WeChat got most of the shares. And that's how Tencent became one of the biggest companies in the world along with Alibaba as well. So that is really the summary for the book Blue Ocean Strategy. If you like, you can pick it up on Amazon.com, and it does help you with investing, understanding which company to pick, understanding which company will grow in the future. So when you're looking at company picking, stock selection, you want to think about growth, you want to think about their earnings, you want to think about the market, you want to think about whether they're in a blue ocean or a red ocean, or are there a lot of players and is the market big enough, can they grow, so on and so forth. So all these are taken into consideration that will help you to get 30% in the market. So if you like this video, you can leave a comment below or share the video as well. See you in the next one.